Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, they can't hear. They can't answer to us, Flo. You don't have
Yes, they
to.
can. They have a chat.
Uh, True.
Well, I have already said hi to Jasper, but here we have Mark that has just arrived. How are you, Mark?
Oh, I had a bit of a busy morning there. We had one of the guys at our work has just not shown up for work. He was traveling last week, and we didn't know where he was. So, yeah, spent the morning going around trying to find emergency contact details and stuff like that. So that was fun.
Ouch.
So now's the time to get on with stuff, right?
And did you manage to verify that he's still alive?
No, but at the same time, I looked back through emails, and I think because it was a long weekend this weekend here in North America, I think that he was getting confused between Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So actually, he is off today and back tomorrow. So yeah, that's okay in the end. But it took us about 2 hours to get there, so that's that's how it goes sometimes.
Oh, Alberto is writing that he just overtook you.
Did you
They're
start from pole mark here?
Oh yeah,
You've
I
been
was.
overtaken by Alberto.
Yeah, no, I got the record though. That's what matters. My name's on the track now for the best master qualifying time for forever, I guess. So until that gets broken, then
Forever.
that's the good
That's
one.
yet to be seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alberto
I
Perez. I
can I
think I
can
raced
just
against
about
him
see it
too.
in there. Yeah.
Hmm? Oh, we have
Hi Ricardo. Hi Juan Diego. Hi Vlad.
your
Vlad, did you
pronunciation
take
of
the lead?
your pronunciation of Juan Diego is pretty good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
We have
I'm gonna butcher all of that today. I'm sure. Having a strong accent doesn't really help with the pronunciation of names.
yeah, but I see you managed to hit the office, so that will be better in matters of audio quality. The other day we did
Yeah,
the
if
test; it
I
wasn't very good.
yeah, I was yeah. I'm in the office today. I yeah. When I on last week, I was actually out in the field, so I didn't have the chance. I was actually planning to be in the field today as well, but as such, when work happens, sometimes you got to be yeah in the office.
I'm going to put myself here because the last person is usually being being hidden by the by the banners.
Yeah. So like
It's
I haven't
Malati
done any of
stream.
this before. How does this actually work? Do people just like ask questions or what would you want to do?
No, I have a few questions in case we have nothing to talk about, but we are going to try to enjoy the race and talk a little as we usually do.
Yeah.
Last time I tried a very straightforward interview, I got my interview a little bit nervous, and it didn't work very
You don't need to
naturally.
worry about that with me.
I know
You're all
who I'm
good.
dealing with. Don't worry. Yes, John, that's a pretty thick accent that Mr. Webster has.
Do you mean
Well,
sick or thick?
Thick.
you know what? I've
Thick.
I've spent my whole life, my whole adult life, living in cities where I've had to dull down my accent for people to understand me. I lived in Edinburgh for 10 years, so I it's a very cosmopolitan city. There's a lot of people from a lot of nations around the world that live there. So you have to get used to speaking in a more clear and concise term so that people can understand you there. And then, like, I
But
lived
wait,
in Toronto and now I live in Vancouver, which are pretty much the same things. I'm living in a different continent, a different country as well. So I have to be very clear about how I talk.
but
Yeah, well,
before you went to Edinburgh, where are you originally from?
Like,
Exactly.
very rural Scotland, kind of in the northeast area, kind of in the hills and mountains of Scotland originally, and then kind of made my way out for university, and ever since kind of just lived in various cities since then.
Yeah, you never went back then.
Yeah. I
Ah,
never did.
visiting.
Yeah.
Just
I think
visiting.
once you leave, you kind of don't really go back.
Well, I found your accent nightmarish to hear to John. No
Well, I will
offense.
say, yeah, John has quite a strong accent as well.
He has a
But
very strong accent, and I understood half of what we talked about. I probably was like nodding in agreement just because I didn't get what he was saying, but it is
yeah,
what it is.
there's a lot of drama and bravado in John's accent, I would say. Yeah, so yeah. It's. I mean, it really just depends. Like, there's parts of Scotland that if you go to, then you will have trouble with the accent. You know, there when I first graduated, actually, I worked in Glasgow. Even though I was living in Edinburgh, and I couldn't understand the people in Glasgow, even though I'd lived in Scotland my entire life. I had to have a translator for my first couple of weeks. When
Oh.
when I worked over there, so it's the same with Ireland. I'm sure I've been to some parts of Ireland before. I've been to Galway. I've been to the west coast of Ireland, and it's definitely very strong accents over there too.
There was a few people joking that I got Jasper to co-host today because I need a translator, an interpreter, more likely. No, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I'm too hard to understand, but I think maybe some people would disagree with that.
No, well,
No,
the
not
other
at
day
all.
I had serious trouble, but the environmental noise was a problem too. That
Yeah, well, I
and
was
the bad
yeah
internet.
on Friday. On Friday, I was underneath some power lines, so that probably interfered with it as well. The electromagnetic
Ah, well,
fields of
yes, power
electric
lines
wires
tend to be noisy.
interfere with this stuff. Yeah, I'm watching this here. Like, I've put a whole bunch of overtake risks into the strategy today, and I'm watching myself try to overtake Alberto, and it's not happening. We'll see how long it is until I spin off the track. But I've got, how much did I put in the end? I think I put 70 on in today. I can't remember, something like that.
Bruh.
Overtake. You mean
I haven't
overtake
run that
risk?
since rookie.
That's bold.
Yeah, oh, I know. I'd rather, but this is the thing. Like, I've been trying to explain this to the guys in Malate, and they just don't listen to me for some reason. But it's better to like go and attempt to do the stuff and then make the mistake, especially when you've got a big gap between second and third, like you've got here, right? It doesn't really matter
It
too much
depends. Yeah,
if you
here
make a mistake.
definitely.
Yeah, oops, sorry.
In this situation,
Um,
definitely. If you DM, nobody cares because you will close the gap back in a few laps. But there
Yeah,
are
exactly. So
situations where you
that's
end
why
up.
I say do it, right? Like, just go ahead and get it done. But yeah, I'm running with 70 overtake risks today, which is actually more than the clear track risk that I'm running with. I'm a bit driver energy limited on this race, so I'm running 60. I think in the end is my clear track risk here. There, like, you know what? But we don't need to let the Discord of Malati float into the stream here. We've had these arguments for the last 2 days. It's fine.
Well, we are, of course, we are going to talk about the elitist achievement at some point because that's more like the most recent thing that is. You're the most recent achiever, I mean, and it's something that doesn't happen often on the site, on the game.
Yeah, first
And,
time in over a decade, actually. I went back and checked, and I think it was 11 years between the last person and then when
who
I got
was
it a
the
couple of
last
years ago.
one? Chris Williams?
No, it was Ludwig, actually.
Ah,
I know
Ludwig.
that not a lot of people here will have had the chance to race with him. He was a very sort of what's the word I'm looking for? A very intelligent guy. He was a really smart guy. He was kind of doing things that, like, back in the teen seasons, that people are doing now, because he was just a bit ahead of the curve that way. And I think I can't remember if he got a bit jealous that everybody else was doing it without him or not. But then he just tried it a couple of seasons later and did it completely on his own. And the other thing that he did as well is he did it all with the same driver. He went from rookie to elite with the same driver.
Oh, that's a
Um,
nice achievement too. Partners for
like
Life, I
promoting
think.
every single season with him. So I can't remember exactly how he did it, but either way, he was obviously very, very much ahead of the curve. Which was I no one will ever beat that. That was crazy.
Fun fact, he
That
was my teammate on the previous game that shall not be named, but now it's fine to name it because it's dead. So he had before.
Today I was surprised because someone actually named the game and it's not blacklisted anymore.
It's not blacklisted anymore. Wow.
No,
So on
it's
F1 Real
not because
Manager,
it's
I was.
dead. F1 Rim.
Yeah, I was his teammate, and there was you only had one teammate, right? So it was just two of you in a team. Yeah, he was ahead, but yeah, back then when I was playing, I was like 12, 13, 14, 15 maybe, and he was like a student, so like university student. So it was clear that there was a big difference in level between the two of us. But
he was probably 5 or more years older than you.
Yeah, I was in university when I started playing this, and then obviously took a break away for a while and then came back. So yeah, when you're in university,
how did you find out
this.
about the game, Mark?
I joined as part of a large group of people that were on another forum that all kind of joined the game at the same time. So Chris Williams was part of it, Gordon Ashford, Ian, who is in Malati now, was part of that same group. There was probably about 15 or 20 of us, and I think maybe 3 or 4 of us still play, not many now, but we all joined from another game essentially. And then, we just
it was not F1 Rim, it was another game.
No, it was soccer related.
So Soccer Manager, I see.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we all kind of came across and tried it, and then I think we all kind of took to it, and a lot of us stayed with it, I guess.
Nice, because we all arrived here. Well, Jasper came from from the game that shall not be named, but we all came here in different ways, and you found out about the game pretty early on. So that was something I didn't know about you. You were originally in a team with Scottish people.
Me, yeah, that's right. That was the whole crew that I come across from the other game, and then
you joined all together in a team.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we were all together. I think there was three teams that were all kind of like a family set. There was probably about 25 or 30 of us at the start, and then everybody kind of fell off after a while. And that's when I went across and did I start Jaguar at that point? I can't remember. I think I probably did.
I think that you left this original team and you started Jaguar.
That's right, yeah, because I think that was the time when a lot of that family had kind of stopped racing and there wasn't too many people left. So I decided to go and try something new. Ian came with me, and ultimately, as well as a few other people that I made friends with over the time. And then, that.
I would like to listen about Andreas Weilemann talking.
Yeah, it didn't really happen very much, if I remember right. There was definitely like a few wilder characters in that team, myself being one of them. But it was definitely myself, Chimay, and Leonardo who were kind of the three antagonists, let's say.
Yes, I have this idea. It cannot be read from the team forum. I want to make it clear because I tried to dig on that and I did not find anything. So these guys covered their traces pretty well. But I understand that you guys clashed at some point and divorced.
No, there was definitely I can't remember it now. Obviously, this is like we're talking about stuff that happened maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Like it's a long time ago, but there were clashes. There always are. They weren't dealt with particularly well, and then as a result, we kind of all split off and went off to do our own thing, and then the same thing again happened in Edifice, and that kind of split everybody up again. And then I went off and tried some other stuff as I was kind of losing a bit of interest and motivation for the game. So I kind of moved off and tried some other stuff, and then nothing really rekindled it. So I kind of left the game for 5.5 years, I guess. And then, John McLean and I were talking a few times about going back and trying to do things that we always wanted to do. So I challenged him to do Elit1st, and then I obviously got it, and he didn't get out of rookie, so that probably explains the difference between the two of us. And then but then I was fortunate actually that Ian was in Malati, and that he had a really, I guess, influential view of me and putting it across the team as well, because I've said it before, like, I know that I wouldn't be a part of the family if it wasn't for Ian, so I'm obviously very grateful for that.
Ian went full on campaign for you, man.
Yeah,
It
and
was,
I never do. I do. I know that, and
they were actually
there's definitely no way
because Ian was campaigning so much.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't have achieved this without Ian getting me in there. I probably wouldn't have even got out of amateur, to be honest with you. That was close even with being part of Malati. So amateur was definitely the hardest of the 4 seasons, I would say. But fortunately they have the additional promotion slots, and that kind of got me past that barrier. And then once you're past amateur, I was fortunate that I got a fairly easy pro group, and then in the master group I thought I was in a difficult group, but as it turns out, nobody really wanted to promote, so there was
Happens.
just a third
more often than you think.
sitting there, right?
It's quite interesting that you say that amateur was the most challenging season. It's not what you would expect. I mean,
That's
you
right.
can also end up in a
the reason that it's the most challenging is because, like, you're going into the group like so far behind everybody else, and that combined with the driver market in amateur, which is probably the hardest one outside of elite. It just, like, you're just trying to jump from one tier to another before you're really ready, so you kind of have to really jump on it. Like, if I was giving a tip, then if somebody wanted to start the challenge, look at doing your rookie season when you have a cheap testing track, so that you can get as much car points as you can from rookie. That'll help you a lot in amateur. One thing I would probably do differently as well is I try and hire a driver in rookie that could do both rookie and amateur as well, instead of fighting in the amateur driver market, which is stupidly hard. So
rookie and amateur drivers are always very hard to get cheap.
Well, not
if you want something already built, I mean, of course you can hire a person cheap.
You can spend as many seasons in rookie as you want, as long as you keep the driver way below 85, so you can find something not so develop it as you want in rookie.
Exactly. And that's a really good point from Jasper as well. Is like, you can spend some time training like a driver, like in a season before you even try to do it, right? And you can have somebody sitting right at the right OA limit, and then you can just train them up, and they'll go straight through amateur. It's probably too much to ask them to go straight through pro as well. So I think that, once you hit pro, you're probably looking in the market again. But I think that there's that's definitely the better way to go, not to do it the way that I did it, for sure.
John has a question for you here.
Yeah, we were still talking quite a lot. Obviously, we went through a bit of a recruitment process recently with Malati, and I tried to do for John what Ian did for me. John and I talk every so often. He's still settling down. He's still moving apartments, all this type of stuff, still getting settled in. But he's getting on fine. He seems to be enjoying his new life. So following in my footsteps a little bit, I guess. But he's definitely getting on well.
Nice to know. Yeah, I didn't know he was. He did mention it, but I probably didn't think much of it, that Maka was living in Canada too.
Yeah, he talked about it for a while, and then, like, the process to actually get into Canada is fairly easy if you're quite young, if you're 30 or under in UK. But if you're
Jan says hi.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is. So if they want to announce who they actually are, then we can talk. But
that's Sung Ho.
Oh, is it? Of course. The person whose driveway I believe John McLean actually slept in one night. Hi, John.
Ilya.
No, we don't want to, or do we want to wash the dirty Malati laundry here? I'm all ears.
We are more than happy to share our dirty laundry, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't. There isn't dirty laundry. It's just, Flo. I know, Flo, that you don't.
I'm sorry. You were both talking at the same time. I missed what you said, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, Flo, I know that your recruitment processes at Jaguar are also, they can be complicated, and I know that you don't particularly like recruitment. And naturally, at Malati, we had a similar experience where we took a few weeks to get it done, and that's very public because everybody could see
recruitment is always a nightmare.
Yeah, everyone could see that we kept bumping the recruitment thread because we weren't. Yeah, it just took a while to get it done. And that's we are still recovering. We're very glad it's over, and we're like, oh, don't talk about recruitment anymore, please.
Yeah, I think that how many posts was it about a voting system? Maybe 2,000 by the end of it. Dear.
I skipped most of them, I think, but
yeah, probably wise. No, I see. It seems that Alberto's pulling away from me here. Maybe he's boosting again.
Oh, here we have the polemic question by Jean.
Yeah, well, current team, obviously. Who would want to be part of Jaguar now? I don't know.
Those noobs.
Yeah, those noobs, right? No, I mean, I don't really, to be honest with you, because I spent so much time away from the game, I don't really know too many people who still play, to be honest. And even though my friends list probably still has about 70 or so active managers in them, I probably not talked to most of them for 5, maybe even 10 years. So yeah, no, we've made a lot of friends in Malati, and I plan to keep it that way.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna be. We have our permanent gonna be here, Onuru.
Yeah, Jag has opened recruitment because, as it was pointed out earlier, this is Malati stream, and Flo doesn't know it yet, but Flo is actually joining Malati in a few weeks from now, so that's why.
Wait! We have to get the voting system arranged first.
I don't want to be kicked out of Jaguar. It would be pretty hard to do, given I'm currently sitting at the number 1 spot, but yet I don't want to be asked to leave.
You don't have to be kicked out, you just have to leave by yourself.
Yeah, in order to be
a better team.
In order to be a team leader. Yeah, sorry. In order to be a team leader in Malati, you have to have a championship. So Jasper, George, and Brad are our 3 team leaders, I guess. I don't know actually if Brad has been put up to the Canny team leader slot, but he should be. So sorry, Flo, you can't be a team leader without having a championship first.
Well, I have current teammates with caps, and they are in the place they belong to. They know who the leader is. Especially the noob with the 9 trophies and such. Wanted to ask you, because I remember we talked about this before in the Discord server, but you had a few hard moments during your gameplay years in G Pro. You had 2 rookie resets, pretty noticeable ones.
Yeah, I think it took
what
me
led
a long
you
time.
to go to rookie, back to rookie? What was the motivation behind that?
So the first one was just purely because we were still learning about the game, and I think it was more me relegating than anything else. And then the second one was I just I didn't really know all that much about the game at the time, and I think that I thought that a better situation would be to just reset. I'd found a really good driver, and I wanted to develop him from the start, essentially. So I thought the easier thing would be to just go back to rookie and start, right? At that time, you didn't realize how important it was to not do that. So that was why I reset.
Oh yeah, well, of course there was much less to lose back then, but I don't know.
Yeah, like it was only really, I would say, the mid 20 seasons that I think we really sort of jumped onto some stuff in the game. Yeah, so that we spent a lot of time at that point just kind of learning new things. So yeah.
And I was also wondering that you could have been the first driver to win a race at the lead, because you got your first win at Elite in season 30. It
That's
was
right.
not long after you left. Why
Yeah.
why why did you do that?
So, so what happened was season 30, if I remember correctly, was the first season of favorite tracks, and it just so happened that the season that I promoted to elite,
No, I do remember what happened that season. No, it was not the first season of favorite tracks. You're so dino that you don't remember what happened. Blood fixed the experience. He put the cap on pace.
Experience
yeah,
bug, which I read about on the forums.
yeah.
He
So
kept the
we all
pace gains
discovered.
from the XP past 250.
Well, what it was is like through the teen seasons, it became a bit of a theory that there was an optimum actual piece of amount of experience for pace, and that was kind of in a certain range. And if I remember right, it was about 150 to 170, something like that. And people were saying that once you got beyond 170, it was kind of detrimental to pace rather than increasing it. So that was something that I think it was the R06s that were the leaders on, I guess, at the time. But yeah, to go back to what your original question was with season 30, yeah, I had the favorite track on race one, so I took whatever the fastest tires were and just went out and won the first race.
You went for it.
Yeah, but because like that was the thing. Like when I was in Edifice and all those other teams, that was kind of how it was supposed to be. Was you kind of just went up to elite and just, oh hey, this is just like a first season of master, right? You just keep going as fast as you can and throw everything at it. When that's really not the case. It's a whole different ballgame once you get up to that division. So you have to plan it in a different way. And that's something that I didn't even realize until I joined Malati. I'll be honest with you. So yeah.
It took you pretty long, I see.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, all the teams that I was with, like, I mean, obviously in Edifice we had Toygan in there, but the reason that Toygan was so successful is because he was so good at the sponsor stuff. He would just, make so much more money than everybody else that it just became he would just lead elite, or he would be in the top few positions every year, and that again is a whole different ball game to somebody who's freshly promoted to elite. Who has to do certain things to get their package to a level where they can compete with the top 5 or top 10 in the group. So yeah, that was kind of part of it. I didn't really realize that we had to do things a little bit differently.
Javi is going for one stop, or what the hell here?
Well, it's
I'm
still in
thinking
two-stop territory
we
right
have
now.
the first stops already,
Yeah,
and I
so
see, yeah, leader hasn't stopped yet.
yeah, so yeah, everybody's either on two-stop or three-stop in Master at this point. Obviously, with Hancock tires, you have to go for three stops here. There was no other
Yeah.
alternative. So yeah, I was hoping to have opened up a bit more of a gap, but yeah, looking at probably a top 4, hopefully maybe a podium. That would be the plan here.
Yeah, I
As long
think
as
a
as long
podium
as
is very
my
possible. Not all of the two stoppers will stay ahead of you.
You're
yeah,
17
I
seconds
will
off the
run.
lead, right?
What?
You're 17 seconds off the lead now. Is that correct? Did I see that correctly? So I
Yeah,
think
that's
you'll
right.
take
Yeah.
all of the two stoppers now.
Well, the other thing I've got to watch for is that I am running the risk of a technical problem at the end of the race here as well. I'm pushing one of the parts to 100%, so there is a fairly strong chance that I'll smoke out at some point, but we'll see.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, it seems to be about 50-50.
Yeah,
That's yeah.
When you're on a tight budget, there's no way around that. You need to smoke.
Well, yeah, it's not that I'm on a tight budget. It's just, with expensive tires. And the other thing as well is, like, when you run Hancocks, you've got to take your weather and run with it, right? If you get a race like this, especially in a group with no Mishies in it, which Master 5 is, then you basically take any temperature under about 23 degrees and just go for it, because that's going to be your scoring point races. Same thing I did 2 seasons ago when I was on the Elit1st path. Just got to go for the cold races and try and get as many points as you can.
Of course. Another thing that I remember we talked about on Discord, but of course not everyone is at Discord, so not everyone heard about that. Is the is that decision you made so early during season 40 to relegate? You were
yeah. Yeah,
you didn't believe me when I reminded you that you had a little bit of a crisis back then, but you did.
Oh, crisis has happened every month with us back then, and that was just how we played the game, I think. Again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Like, there's a certain philosophy that you have to take with you to Elite if you want to succeed there, and I didn't have that philosophy, so it makes sense that I didn't succeed with what I was trying. So that's that was old Mark. Now new Mark will try it differently the next time I don't know. I might try and promote this year. I'm not entirely sure whether I can do it or not. But when I actually come back and I'm ready, then I'll be doing it differently.
That's Mark Webster in his 20s.
Yes, definitely. Mark Webster before he grew up a bit.
All moody. I always neglect my own race when I'm on the streaming. Oh, there's already people doing the 2 stops. The 2 stoppers are 2 stopping. They're in their first stop. I'm doing a relatively good race, which I'm surprised about because I didn't set my car very well for the race, much wise, I mean, and I'm using like the normal risks that take you about 70% energy or so I'm doing pretty well. Considering I had a random last race, it was about time.
Yeah, I was definitely lucky that I didn't get any or many during my run. I think I got 2 in pro, and I didn't think I got any in master, which was fortunate. But I think I got 2 that were 2 races apart in pro. But fortunately, I don't think, again, kind of similar to master, I don't think a lot of people wanted to promote in the group in pro that I was in. So, in a way, like, a lot of what you're trying with Elit1st depends on luck, and if you're lucky, you get the right groups, then it can be fairly easy, or you can get thrown into a really difficult group and have to really push hard to do it. All comes down to money management, and probably the most important thing is not making mistakes, because you don't have a lot of space to make mistakes when you're trying it. So you've got to make sure that you do your strategies right, and yeah.
We already talked about this, Vlad. We had a little talk before the streaming started, and he told me that he wasn't very conscious when setting up his race. He didn't set it up at all, okay? Open the microphone, Jasper, come on.
No, I was saying that I'm not watching my race, so I have no idea what the background of the question is.
No,
But
he was
yeah,
mocking you because he knows you didn't set up your race.
and how come he knows that I didn't set up my race? You confess,
Maybe it's just
Flo,
an assumption that we can make these days.
No, Flo is suddenly very quiet. She's the only
What?
person I told that you're the only person. So how come Vlad knows that I didn't set my race setup?
Well, I guess Flo and Vlad were out for a beer recently, weren't they?
Yes, but my race setup is something that I should have done 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
What doesn't?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
No, but I
when it
forgot.
comes to
Anyway.
doing race setups, I'm usually fairly consistent with it. I usually try and do everything all at once, so I kind of like we have our planner, so I just kind of go through and try and do everything, and then not leave the screen until everything is done and complete. That way, that I never need to think about going back and, oh, hey, did I do this, or oh, did I do that? Whereas if I do it all like at once, it's all good. And that's actually what the app is really good for. Is it has all the checklist at the start that kind of says, right, oh, you've done this, and it gives you
Oh
all the tick
yes,
boxes.
yeah.
Like that's a lifesaver for me. Is seeing the checklist of everything that I've done to make sure that I've done it myself. So that's definitely a big plus for me.
Here, Yosha is a little bit upset because you're faster than him this race.
Well, to if it can comfort you, the reason why I might be fast is because last race I pushed for points, and that risk that I used last race is still in there for my set of this race. So I'm like pushing flat out for no reason. I guess that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are probably facing a problem with energy later on the race.
Oh, there might be a little problem with energy. I also happen to have switched drivers this race, so the current noob driver that I signed will not be able to cope with the level of risk that my previous driver ran last race. There might be a little collapse. And yes, I signed a new driver. That was amazing.
Yeah, did Andres
The meme
congratulate
is
you?
over.
Yeah, the pickings have been pretty slim for you. I do feel a bit sorry because there's not really been anything that kind of jumps out of the page. It's all just been kind of fairly standard average drivers for the last while anyway. At least the one that George got last season was in a position where you can be trained and go for it. So yeah, hopefully you guys can make advantage of these new drivers and continue our cup streak. We're in what is it? 5 of the last 13 seasons have been won by some of our teams. So hopefully we can up that number. Hopefully Brad can do it this season, and then maybe we can get a bit of a streak going with other people.
Well, to be honest, there was like there's a driver that Rafał Celejewski signed earlier this season, which I also offered on, but he beat me, and he beat me because I put in a cheap offer. And I put in a cheap offer because basically I don't have the money to offer anything but a low salary, and I knew that this is my situation. So yeah, I got beaten on the market fair and square, so I can't really complain that the market that I was unlucky or something. I just I knowingly went for low offers on my previous ones, and this one was uncontested. So yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I should have been in master already given the state of my account, but I just want to see how long I can stretch it, basically. So we'll see. I didn't sign this driver thinking that there is another championship push coming on. Right now, there is no championship push coming from my side. Not for the next 5 seasons. I think I'm in a bit similar spot where Roland was a few seasons ago, where he had a good package. At some point, he had a good driver, but he never really got the sponsors to put in a title push. And
Happens to the best of you.
I think I am in exactly the same spot right now. So my sponsor situation is dramatic. I've run into let's say wrong place, wrong time situations consistently for the past 3 seasons. So yeah, it's there's not much future for me in Elite, let's say, but we'll see.
Will you be following Roland soon?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what I want to achieve. So I don't know.
Yeah, and Flo, I actually challenged Roland to do Elit1st to prove that he can do it, but he didn't take up my challenge. So I guess he thinks he can't do it, right?
That no.
He doesn't want to give up the untrainables, of course.
Yeah, well, that was his response, right? But I'm working on it now. Like if my plan goes to, as I'm hoping that it does, and let's say that I do promote this season, then I'll do my season in Elite and then master, then pro, and then back down to amateur. By the time I hit amateur, I'll be at 100 on one of the untrainables, and then it's just a matter of keeping on going until I'm at 100 with the other one. But it's not greatly difficult to train one of them, but the other one, obviously, it is pretty hard. I do think it's a bit of a...
We had a discussion on that yesterday or 2 days ago at the Discord server. Because we have a very old player that has recently come back, and he was asking about that because, of course, he didn't get to see the effects of untrainables when he was playing the first time. Hi, Alex, if you're watching. And he was asking about that, and it was clarified that you have an easier way to train technical, but experience is really hard to get up.
Yeah, I mean, I do disagree with the fact that it takes, like, you can do everything perfectly and still take 21 seasons to get to full staff experience. Like, it's a long time. And
it took me 5 years.
Yeah, we're talking about like actual life years here. I do wish that there was a way for that to be reduced, or some other reason, some other way to improve the rate of progress. Like I say, to get your technical up is, I mean, sure, you have to sacrifice stuff. Like, you can't be as efficient as you might want to be, but with experience, there is no way to sacrifice something else to put that up higher, right, and put it up faster. I do wish that there was a way that you could do that, but that's up to Vlad.
In my opinion, what they should do is the untrainables should be capped depending on your tier, just like your facility levels are. But then when you relegate, they shouldn't immediately disappear. They should just very slowly decay. Like, let's say in Master, you have a cap of 80. And if you relegate from Elite to Master with 100 on everything, then it's very, very, very slowly starts dropping. Like, and after 5 seasons or something, you'd be on 80. If you drop to Pro, it would drop to 60, Amateur to 40. And this way, it would be the same for everyone. So everyone who goes down to Amateur would have their untrainables reduced. And it levels the playing field in Amateur for new players. And
I don't really agree with that. Like, I don't think it's
in Elite long time.
Yeah, I don't know. I would almost prefer just throw it in with TDs, right, and just let people hire it. Like, that's and kind of grow it organically, but make people hire it, right? That's the way that I might look at it. But at the same time, I think that one of the sort of core issues that makes the game pretty hard, or not hard is not the right word, but it makes it quite demotivating for people, is because that gap between Master and Elite is already so big as it is. To make
it has
bigger,
always been the same. If I recall correctly, tell me if I'm wrong, Mark. It has always been like that.
Yeah, it always has, and that's kind of one of the ways of the game. But
No, but
So much of that promotion season from Master to Elite really depends on the group that you're in. Like, because say you might have a really easy promotion season and you might be able to just promote easily. There's definitely been people who have had that benefit, and then there's been other times, there's that last season that I promoted to Elite in 41, I think it was, which was incredibly difficult. I think I probably spent as much money as almost somebody going on to an Elite Championship run would have, just to promote that season out of a master group, right? And all that planning essentially goes out the window because of just how difficult that one group was. That does make it pretty difficult.
But about the gap between Master and Elite, I agree that the performance gap is pretty large. But on the other hand, to win championships, it's almost impossible to stay in Elite and win a championship. It's basically impossible if you look at the number of people who are. I think 2 people recently got an Elite Championship after a pretty long stay. It's George and Agas Rimantas. I think everyone else who won a championship in the last 20, 25 seasons did it after coming straight from Master. So it's basically impossible to stay in Elite and win.
Yeah, and I think like the last maybe 15, 20 seasons, like a lot of people have been getting used to the game changes that were made with the PHA matching stuff, right? So there's still not a whole bunch of teams that have really worked out what it means. So I think that because of that, there's still that little bit of that learning stage that's going on. But yeah, I think that Jack Jasper's right. It's always been a big gap, and some people can jump. Promotion sponsors and signing the right driver can make that work. But
yeah, that started happening when Shuka won his championships. He was one of the first when there were these changes that went straight from Master and won championships, and he complained about that. Actually, he wasn't very happy about the situation. He personally said that he thought it wouldn't be healthy for the game that the master promoters could be so strong so early. Of course, we are talking about master promoters that are seasoned veterans and have maxed non-trainables and other things that made them competitive. Of course, not the guys coming from master to Elite for the first time after, I don't know, say 6, 8, 10 seasons in the game.
Well,
and I think he has a fair point.
Yeah, so I know that David Rolliston did it, but who else has recently done it?
Everybody. I mean, not straight after promotion, but like everybody who was won
3-4 seasons after, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With the driver they brought up, and
I don't think there's an issue with that. I would actually encourage that. You want to make it difficult for people to stay in Elite for a long time, right? Because you want to see that manager churn. You want to see new people going in and look at, trying to get the title, right? That's kind of how it works. You want to make it quite hard for Elite people in Elite to stay there. Like that's just my opinion, obviously, as somebody who's between the divisions up and down the whole time. Yeah.
No, but you're definitely point, and it's probably it's by design this way. And there is only, I guess, Roland was able to do it for a long time. Now, for some reason, probably circumstantial, some bad luck on the sponsor market, and it ended. But yeah, then some.
We don't want to give names, but Robert Laszlo.
Sorry.
We don't want to give names, but Robert Laszlo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that too.
That happened too.
Yeah. No, but where was I? Yeah, I was going to say that. Okay, there's only space in Elite for a few people staying there a long time, I guess. And currently, it's George and Rimantas who are able to do it and stay at the front. I've been in Elite for a long time, but I'm not at the front anymore, so I don't count myself in.
No, well, but you managed to do that for a while. So, of course, people come and go.
But I haven't pushed for a championship since season 78, so... I'm talking about really pushing for championships, and for me, my
Pushing for
championship push
championship.
was
Yeah.
in '78, so it's a long time ago. I was
And
very close,
Romantis
though.
can
I would
definitely
like
take
to.
his Romantis can definitely take his fair share of blame for that as well with the sponsor issues that have come up. It seems to be the one or two people that always beat us to the jump, I guess, on the sponsors, right?
I think he's beaten two of us to a sponsor, yeah.
Yeah,
But okay, fair play. So
yeah, it's the game, yeah. But you know what? Like I was talking before about sort of the gap between master and elite, and I think a lot of the issue that or I think a lot of the protectionism that comes from is because there's such a gap in the ability of drivers between master and elite, and then because you only have 2 seasons from that 160 level to train your driver for elite, that you can only really get to about 210 215 at max overall, and everybody around
With
you
the
is sitting
moti
at
included. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And everybody's at that level without Moti. So, like, I mean, if you want Mark's crazy suggestion for the day, then take driver charisma out of the overall calculation because, like, as you can see, if you look around the whole sort of market above about 140 overall, everybody's just got minimal charisma because nobody values it anymore, right? So, there's Mark's crazy idea for the day.
Well, I understand that you have a fair amount of suggestions. Maybe you want to discuss some other of those
Oh,
because you were trying to push them in some forum I know of, and nobody was
yeah,
replying.
I know. And you know what? The way that I've got some other ideas, but I obviously there's a big app rollout on now, so there's nothing that's going to happen for the next little while. So maybe once that's rolled out and all the final bugs are fixed and stuff like that, then maybe that's the time to start asking questions. So we'll see.
the game definitely needs another change. I think the last big change was PHA change, which was 71, season 71, 72, something.
Yeah,
It
I
definitely,
agree.
the game to me definitely feels like it's like a sort of end game situation where a lot of people at the top have figured everything out, and it's everybody understands the game, and that means that the margins are very small, and it's no longer
Well,
possible.
yes, the learning curve has reached a certain point. We were discussing this at Jaguar Discord the other day, that of course with the number of players we currently have, we could have a different pyramid situation, but it's not viable because of precisely what you mentioned. The players we have know a lot about the game. The learning curve is pretty high, so you cannot get the 200 people that know a lot about the game and put them to compete in a lower tier, because that would be a disaster.
Yeah, and I think that that is a point. There's one way to win, right? Does that make sense? Like if you want to win a trophy, then there's only really one way to do it. That to me is the biggest issue. Like I'd like to see different ways. I'd like to see, as an example, somebody who could invest huge amounts of money into staff and facilities and basically win off that, and have a take cuts elsewhere, like either in a drive or in a car, and put all the money into facilities or stuff like that, and have them come through like with a chance to win from there, or somebody or kind of things along those lines. But as it turns out, just the way the game is, there's really only one way to win and one way to prepare and things like that. And whether that's because amateur's too easy, whether that's because prepping and planning and master and elite is too hard, I don't know. But that does seem to be the way that everybody wins these days, is by having a certain plan and coming up through the divisions in a certain way.
It has always been the same, Mark, until
but it has changed.
a big enough
over time.
change. But until a big enough change comes, but it has always been the same. There has always been one way to do it. When the Areskoskis were around, as you mentioned a few minutes before, the way to do it was getting a driver with lots of experience.
Well, it was getting a driver without lots of experience. But yeah, and the other thing about that time as well is that everybody was just running 100 risk every single race because driver energy wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so it became a race of essentially how quick could you get, right? You could just, basically you didn't ever have to think about risk. You just went 100 every single race, and you just dealt with it, right? It was better to run a level 6 car master and run 100 risk every race than it was to run a level 8 car with less risk, right? That's just the way it was. And then driver energy came in, so that changed it. And then, as Jasper mentioned, this is when I was away from the game, was when PHA matching was introduced, and then that changed things again. So I agree that there's probably something else that can be done. Like I had one of my friends actually message me and say one of their suggestions for the game was to allow people to set different risks for different laps, to kind of, basically give more varied strategies. And, if the temperature increases and decreases a lot during races, then changing risks to compensate for that, or whether they wanted to, run higher risks at certain times of the race to try and overtake people and all this type of stuff. And, it just makes the game infinitely more complex. And it's probably only something that really relates to higher divisions. But,
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that can be
you
done.
shouldn't do that in rookie. For sure.
No, like rookie should be the entry level to the game, right? The only time that people should be in rookie is when they're first joining the game or restarting their career. And then, they're those people jump into amateur, and a lot of people, experienced managers, sit in amateur and earn money, and they do the things that prepare you for a future run at elite in there. And maybe amateur's too easy, I don't know, but it just really depends. And then you have the jump to pro, where you start bringing in technical directors, you start bringing in more emphasis on tires and things like that. And that's where the game gets more difficult, because, all the sponsors are competed for. You just kind of have to, from that point up, Pro, Master, and Elite is kind of, dog eat dog all the way up. Whereas in amateur, you've got a lot more flexibility to do things. So that's why people get prepared for their elite runs there and then push their way up.
Yep. Tell me, but because you were around when we had no pro division, when I started playing, we already had pro. I don't know what about the gaps back then between the tiers.
Yeah, I can't really remember too much about it. Like, I remember that the limits for driver overall were different. Like, you had 120 in amateur, for instance. So you had a little bit more there, and then you went straight to the 160 in master. So it was a much bigger jump.
That was a big gap. Yeah.
But at the same time, because you had more flexibility to do. Well, actually, that's not the right word. But like you had the scope to increase drivers fairly quickly. That jumping from 120 to 160 isn't all that difficult. You kind of do it through the testing process. You train up your driver, but then once you get to a certain level, you have to flip training, right? And then that's you in the preparation for elite mode at that point. So it wasn't all that hard. If I remember right, and obviously everybody was still learning the game. So if you had knowledge and tools, you were able to just kind of jump ahead of people, even though you might not have really been prepared for it. Obviously not the case these days.
No, right, but I can imagine that amateur division being a little harder than this one. But since I've been playing, that it's season 26. We haven't had a very strong amateur division at any point. What I mean is that amateur has always, not always, but from the moment that pro was introduced, it has always been easy.
Well, yeah, and the reason for that is because the difference between what experienced managers know and what new managers know is much wider now than it ever has been, right? Like we've obviously just recruited 2 new people into Malate, and both of them are from let's say that their eyes have been opened a little bit by what's been what's kind of posted in Malate and kind of how you run your career, right? So that's without that knowledge, you kind of run an account in a certain way, and that gap is very big. And will only get bigger, obviously, as the game continues to evolve and change.
We are going to attend some of the questions that we have in the chat. Ilya has a question here, and I'm going to answer this one because I know a little bit of the background of this. No, we are never going to have intermediate tires.
No, it doesn't work. I can't even think of a way that
Never.
intermediate tires
That's
would really
not
work. It's
gonna
far too
happen.
complex. Yeah.
That's not going to happen because of technical reasons, as Mark mentions, and also because of historical reasons that maybe some people that has played in F1 Rem knows of, and the rest don't. But that won't happen.
I'm a bit surprised by this response. I think that Yuka would definitely be open to it if he's still working on if he is working on a new race engine. No.
What?
I'm not sure if Yuka is still working on a new race engine, but I'm pretty sure that if he is, I would imagine that he might be open to something like intermediate tires.
Yeah, but
just like he's open to the always.
Vlad has a strong opinion against them. That's my point.
Yeah, because they're difficult to implement. But if Yuka is implementing them, then
not only because of that. No.
Yeah,
there's
it's
more.
I'm just
There's
trying to
more
think,
involved. There are sentimental reasons involved.
Yeah, how would you even set up a strategy for an intermediate rate? Like, I don't like. How do you determine? Like, firstly, how do you determine when to change when you don't know the rate of change between? You know, like if rain was to come on in a certain way, is that going to be uniform? Is it going to be variable? Like, and if it's variable, then how do you set a strategy for it? Like, I don't really get it. I think that if there were going to be changes, like to what Jasper was mentioning, we were talking about what should be the next change. You know, I think it's got to be on the commercial side. I think it's got to be something to do with maybe the introduction of a commercial director or the introduction of like some other way for sponsors to be used, you know, or you know, to give driver charisma some benefit, let's say, because obviously, you know, experienced managers these days like have zero value in driver charisma these days, and as a result, all the drivers that are, you know, kind of, you know, elite challengers and promotion challengers and master and stuff like that, they all don't have charisma or not really very much of it because, let's say, nobody values it. So bringing some value back to that, I think, would be the next big change that I would be looking at myself if I was making changes.
Here we have another question that we might discuss. The variety of tire brands in AMA. For or against?
Against.
Jasper?
Against, because I think it's already enough.
We are having problems with your audio, Jasper.
Oh, sorry. Probably my connection playing up again. Is it better?
Still having problems.
Okay, I'm
Try now.
Yeah, I think that yeah, my opinion as to why I'm against it is because like amateur is just that kind of that level where you know, you've got a lot of new managers still. You don't want to overload them with choices. You know, I think pro is the right place to put the tire choices in.
Not only choices. You have the newbies, the right promoted rookie managers are actually rookies that you don't want to need to compete to someone with lots of money and fancy tires.
Yeah, I think that too. And like, I think if you were talking about, like, it's not that I think that amateur needs to be made easier. What I would think is that you want to take the sponsor situation in pro and master and make that easier for promoters, right? Rather than, you know, have every single sponsor have 3 or 4 guys going after it, right? If you're planning for elite and you want to be successful in elite, you have to have a situation where you're not losing sponsor progress because you're getting out progressed by other managers. Like that's why people go down to amateurs, because that's where the sponsors are. That's where you can build up those packages. You can't do that in pro master, so that's why people go down. So either that, or one of the things that I know I suggested, and I put that on the Discord as well a few weeks, maybe months ago now, was to allow for better untrainables development in pro and master with TDs, and then that would make it more enticing for people to stay at pro master level rather than drop down to amateur, because you can develop those key things down there. That's like, if I was targeting something, that's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah, but I think his announcement was related to the app. He was already developing the app. He has for a few years, so he might have seen that he was close to have a viable product by then.
Hey Flo, can you put the stopwatch on for the screen there?
What?
Yeah, like, sorry, I actually can't watch the race while I'm at work because it's blocked through our firewall. But if could you, like, on the main running window there, can you pop up the stopwatch time? I want to see how far ahead I am compared to when I go in for my last pit.
Here you are.
So yeah, I might get a podium, I might not. We'll see.
You're looking good, in my opinion.
Well, I've still got one more stop to do ahead of
Yeah, but the only two stopper you have around is Javier.
And Guri. Yeah, oh no, Guri's on 3 stop as well. What about Yena? Sorry, I can't quite read that there. He's lap 30.
Where? I'm sorry?
Yena in 4th place.
Jenny.
Like, when did he last pit?
He's 37. He's...
Was that 2? Okay, yeah, so that should be okay.
37, but he's stopping again. He's on a 3 stopper too.
Yeah, okay, so hopefully I might not get Javier, but I should at least get a podium in that case. And maybe I can track down Alberto here and maybe take him in the last pit. We'll see. Yeah, I have my boosts all lined up so for the end of the race. So hopefully Alberto's been through all of his so that I can maybe get him at the end.
So you're behind the firewall. Well, it doesn't work for StreamYard.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It just, like, any website that's categorized as, I think, games or some other thing is basically banned through our firewall. So I can't log on to it because of the website category.
Yeah, but StreamYard is not precisely a work environment, and it's still not behind the firewall.
Yeah.
At my work, I can log into the game, but I can't log into our team forum because it's marked as forum.
Interesting.
Games are fine, but forums aren't.
Strange. Oh, but nowadays we all have one of these, so
yeah,
it's pretty silly, in my opinion. People get their noses in their phones all the time.
Yeah, but it's also about information security, of course. It's not only about what you do, it's also that you might have things on your work computer which you don't want to be shared out to the whole wide world.
Oh, yeah, true. I'm going to leave for a minute, guys. Please take over, Jasper. I'll be back in 5 minutes or so.
Enjoy your pool.
So now we're allowed to talk about all the things that we're not allowed to talk about when Flo's around, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to show
so what do you guys want to know?
Were there any more questions from the chat? So Ilya was continuing the intermediate tire thing, and I think you said it's hard you can't set up a strategy, but I think that would be doable. You can define indeed how wet the track is as a percentage, and you could set your strategy. It would be some. You would have to figure out, like, at what percentage wetness is it worth switching tires. That would actually be a tricky thing to master, I think, and it would be an interesting addition potentially if it's implemented properly. But
Yeah,
and
I think the hardest part of it is like, how do you, like, let's say that you have a certain strategy that you want to do, then how do you actually implement it in the game as a strategy page? Like, I would never want to get in a situation where I wanted to do something but the game options wouldn't let me, right? I think that's probably the hardest part of the intermediate stuff, is how you deal with that.
But lottery races are already like that. You just have to set
I guess
something up
you are
and
right,
hope
yeah.
for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been times where I've really benefited from, let's say, risky choices in lottery races. Like, I actually think one of the only reasons I got out of amateur when I was doing the Elit1st is because I did that specifically. I think it was race 16 where you had the wet qualifying two and kind of like 0% rain probability through the whole race. So you know that there's a certain time where it's going to change. So I think that I took a risk, and I started on the wet tires and fueled really, really low so that I would automatically go in and pit onto dry tires without, like, no matter if it was dry or rain outside, and they just go straight onto it. And fortunately, the lap that I went into pit was the lap that it flipped from wet to dry. So, like, I ran no laps on the wrong tires, and in the end I won the race, and that was one of the only ways that I got promoted. So yeah, that was fortunate that way.
Yeah, you had to take some risk and hope for the best, and accept that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
without
throw
taking
caution
any
to the
risk,
wind,
there was
right?
no chance that you would get promoted. So that was nice. I remember that.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah. That was the race where I thought, you know what, I can maybe actually do this thing.
So we have a question. What do you guys think about the idea of changing tire compound during the race?
It's
And I think
definitely
there's
far easier than
similarly.
intermediates. Like, I say that for sure. It's definitely far easier than intermediates.
And this is
That
also
that might
something
be
that is
more
like
viable. Yeah.
that has been suggested many times on the forums, and it's even listed probably as one of the ideas that, yeah, please don't suggest anymore because it's not going to happen. But I think, once again, I'm pretty sure that I've seen Yuka make some comments which were not very much against it per se. And I believe that you have this city game, what's it called? There's this race simulation game in the Silly Games forum. Is it something with Ultimate? I don't know. I don't play it. But there they work with two different compounds, and they do race simulations like that, and it's actually seemingly pretty interesting. And some people say, yeah, everybody would just always qualify on the softest tire and then switch to hards, but it's not true. That
That's
would
not
not always
necessarily
be.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So
there's a lot of things there's a lot of strategies here that you can use that are like different to the normal. Like, you know, I spent like a lot of time 2 seasons ago in my master promotion season running like hard tire strategies on Hancocks when I should have been running softs, right? But because the way that blocking works in G Pro, it's kind of like you have to make sure that you're the one doing the blocking, not the one being blocked. So yeah, like, sometimes you got to change your strategy, run on the harder tire just to take the less stops and block the people behind you. It's a legitimate strategy, as they would say.
That makes me miss Laila. Danex was a big fan of blocking, I remember. Hi, Daniel, by the way. Safety car is over.
Oh, sorry, we clicked at the same
No,
time.
no, don't worry, Jasper, go ahead.
No, I was just hiding the previous one. You were showing
Oh
this?
yeah, I was trying to show this one, the safety car. That's yet another one of the suggestions that our class has not gonna happen.
Yeah, again, another thing where it's kind of similar to intermediates. How do you work it into strategy? I don't think that it would be a good addition, personally.
No,
Yeah.
because for example, in racing categories like IndyCar, where they have the safety car coming in pretty often, they of course adjust the strategy when the safety car comes in. But and of course they decide based on the number of laps to the end and several factors. And in G Pro, that's not possible because
Yeah.
they all set up in advance.
Yeah, and also I think I mean, safety car is called a safety car because it's there to improve safety, which is not really a thing on a virtual game. And the reality is that in Formula One, the safety car is always unfair for somebody or for a large part of the field. It is just a necessary evil. But in a virtual game, it would no, it wouldn't add anything good. It would only add randomness and unfairness, I think.
It's definitely a conspiracy, Christopher.
Been there.
Yeah. Maybe you're using too many risks. I don't know.
No, well, I remember the days when you had technicals out of risks, and people used to call those randoms, and they were not. But it is not the case anymore now, you know?
Well, there are still a couple, I think.
There are randoms, but I'm talking about that when you had, for example, a very noob driver in amateur and you run 100% risks. You had this chance to have a technical problem because your driver wasn't able to handle these risks, and that was eliminated when energy was introduced. So no, not risk related for sure.
But I mean, you can still get the driver not feeling well in the helmet.
Yeah, but that's totally random.
Oh, is it
And you
random
can
now?
still run 100
Okay.
CT in amateur. You just won't last very long in the race.
You won't last, exactly. That's the mechanism that works against that is the energy. In the earlier days, there wasn't energy mechanism to counter this excessive risk, so there was a chance you had a technical problem because your driver couldn't handle the risks. Yeah, sure, and double accounts too, Gear.
Yeah, I mean, randomness is one thing, but unfairness is different, of course. I think there has to be a bit of randomness to the game. Otherwise, you don't want the best person to win every single time, right? You need a bit of randomness.
Yeah, exactly. I was exactly going to say the same thing.
It's perhaps unfair, but it's needed. Yeah.
And there's things you can do to reduce randomness as well. Like, and by that I mean, like, you can choose specific strategies. You can, you can gain insights from your other sort of group qualifying mates, qualifying times, to see what kind of strategies they're on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do.
Yeah. Well, when a random hits you, it hits you. Don't try to soften the fight.
Yeah.
Is the race ending already? What happened? Alberto is
This
commenting.
is quite a short race, actually. Like the lap times are pretty quick on this one because we're in that kind of range of
I see
Yeah.
that Javier managed to stay ahead after the pits. That's what Alberto is mentioning.
Yeah, well, that helmet random that Juan Diego's talking about there is like certainly when I was first racing before I came back, that was something that was related to risk. But as you guys mentioned, maybe that's changed since the introduction of energy. That was definitely a risk that was caused. Sorry, a random that was caused by risk.
That would be, but I don't think it's caused by risk, but it still exists. But it's actually there is a story behind the text. It's the driver is not feeling well in the helmet is not because the helmet doesn't fit, but it's because he vomited. That's what the text means. This text was implemented after Mark Webber vomited in his helmet in the Japanese Grand Prix in 2007, I think, or 8. and he actually pitted after vomiting in his helmet, and that's when GPRO decided to have this little text for a description of a random.
Yeah, we have a couple of these Easter eggs, like the squirrel, the squirrel on track too.
What's the story behind the squirrel on the track?
I have no idea, but it's like a funny thing, other than because it's funny, not because anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that will be a close end, Mark.
Yeah, I'm
And
trying to catch
Alberto,
up
who
on
is
the
watching too.
guys.
That will be a close end here.
Yeah, I've got my 3 boost laps left for the end, so hopefully I can catch up and see if I can get the guys at the end.
Yeah, and I see you're at a good pace, but you all, the three of you, have similar lap times.
Yeah,
at this
we do.
moment.
Yeah. Well, a podium was the aim in this race, so we'll take that. If that's where we end, like I say, I still run the risk of getting a technical problem here because I am running one of my parts to 100%. So we'll see if that comes through.
Yeah, maybe that hits it at the wrong moment.
Yes, but I think I've got quite a big gap to 4th place. Do I?
Let me see. Yeah, you have almost 40 seconds.
Well, hopefully we can still bear down on them and we'll have a last lap race for the win. Hopefully,
we'll see.
Yeah. So, Flo, what would you introduce into the game as an improvement if you had the choice right now?
Introduce to the game,
or something you would change?
No, I'm not. I'm not a very opinionated person in that sense.
You can jump off the fence if you want.
Jump off the fence? You mean you want me to put me on the other side of the fence?
Well, no. If you're, I guess, sorry, this must be an English turn of phrase. It's kind of like if you're sitting on the fence, it's just like you're wishy-washy, you don't really have an opinion. So if you tell somebody to get off the fence, it means you don't have an opinion.
No, I am really not a very concerned person about the technical side of the race engine. I'm more concerned about the life cycle of the game.
The cycle,
but of
what do you
course,
mean by that?
The life cycle, as you were telling earlier, that it seems to be, we seem to be in a situation of a game end.
Right.
Okay, that is the kind of things that concern me, to be honest. Of course, there is a relation between the technical features and the changes down to the game engine and the life cycle of the game. Of course, as you were pointing out earlier, that a few big changes kind of keep it fresh, not only for the veterans, but also change the status quo a bit. And that is healthy in terms of life cycle, because the new VC, they have a shot at winning.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always going to go back to the thing where this is a game for a certain type of person. Like, this isn't a game for let's say people who have a lesser attention span than others, and this is a fairly technically complex game.
I found myself telling a few people more than once that if they want to win easy, they should play something like Candy Crush.
Exactly right. So it takes a certain type of person. And I think that if you're talking about growing the game or something like that, then what you got to do is you got to find the people that like those kind of games and and bring them in from those places. So if you're talking about other F1 management games, I haven't played any others. This is the only one I've played, but that's probably where a place to start. Or you're talking about the sort of the more detail manager games. This isn't a game you show to somebody who plays FIFA. This is a game that you show somebody who plays Football Manager instead, right? That's the kind of philosophy that I'm looking at it with.
Yeah, but I think that well, for the site of core, it is a problem. Not that it's a problem in general, but it's a trend that people are interested in other kind of games, and the offer out there is huge.
It is, yeah.
And of course, the technology has evolved in ways where people have more powerful computers, more access to the internet, and lots of other technical improvements, as I mentioned, that make them to perhaps look to games that can be more demanding on the hardware side. And of course, if you have the wallet to afford a fully developed game that requires installation and is more graphically attractive, that also tends to attract the younger audiences. You know, when Blood and the other admins and the original moderators of the site started the game and moved from the other side, there was a big audience of people who were very interested in computers. Many of them were coders themselves, and the general audience of internet was smaller somehow because it hasn't been massive for many years at that point. You know, it started to become massive at the end of the 90s, and it was the early 2000s. So we have seen the audience or the public change a lot, and of course the kind of people that were attracted to a game like Pro was the people that were mostly on the internet back then. Now the people is different. That's how I see it. But as I said, it's not that I have suggestions or any plan of action regarding that. I can see how it can be very hard to counteract in some way, because what can you do to attract a more massive audience and keep things fresh? And people
but I
have
think that
people have other ways to communicate too.
Yeah,
Before
it's about
the forums were a
recruiting.
big thing.
Yeah, it's about like advertising to the right people rather than advertising to more people, right? That's what it comes down to in the end.
Hello, Blood. I didn't know he was watching. I thought he was at the beach.
No, it's mute. Type that.
Yeah, the player base picked season 40. That's true. There was a massive change in advertising since then, you know. But it was still very hard to get actual registrations from advertising, even during those golden days. And it's harder now. It's very hard to compete in the pricing of the advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Alberto
is probably around the time when Candy Crush was launched.
Yeah, true. That too.
Yeah, well, I see. I just managed to jump into second, so I managed. It looks like Alberto's maybe run out of energy there.
Yeah, he's telling that in the chat.
And I've got 2 seconds on there. There's a
3
chance.
seconds. You have 3 seconds.
Yeah, you're lapping. I think you're gonna catch him.
But this is the penultimate lap, right? Not the final.
Yeah.
Not the final one.
Indeed, I think on the final lap.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, I think you'll get him. Let's see.
And
we'll see. Let's hope the energy and the smoke doesn't
Ah, yeah, you
doesn't
can smoke the
betray you.
final lap.
Yeah. But if this does happen, then I hope Vlad Valis is watching and understands now why we put high overtake risks in.
Are you boosting, by the way, Mark? Or-
I am, yeah. I'm boosting, and I'm on 60 clear risk and 70 overtake risk. So hopefully, if I get one shot at overtaking Javier at the end there, then I'll hopefully get him.
Yeah, but you're going to be 2.5 seconds faster than the final lap. It's not going to be a contest, I think. We'll see. It's exciting.
Yeah, a win would be good.
Such a race ending.
It would be fun if you overtake him and then have a driver mistake.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because of the overtaking risks, you mean?
Oh, it was the final lap.
Yeah,
What
it was
happened?
the final lap. I thought it was. Yeah.
I wasn't. Oh,
Oh.
I thought it was one more lap. I'm stupid.
Well, one more lap and I'd have got him.
Yeah. Congratulations, Alberto. Nice race.
that
Congrats,
I'll take
Alberto,
that.
on the podium too.
No, yeah, and Castle the story.
And good race for Javi. I don't think he's watching, but yeah, Javi. We call Javier's Javi here. You leaving, Alberto? Bye.
Yeah. If there's any other questions, then just let me know. I'll be here for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, and then I'll be off as well.
Okay. So last chance to ask questions to Mr. Webster. Oh, Ilya fell for the Facebook ad. Yeah. Hello, Raymond.
Hi. So, Mark, what's your next objectives in the game after you completed your achievement?
Yeah. So I'll look at the standings after this race, but I probably want to go back to Elite again next race. Next season. And then I'll just do 3 Piparelli seasons back down to amateur, and then pick up a driver and then do the whole run to Elite again.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. So I don't know. Probably that's my 4-year plan, I guess. That's how long it takes, right?
4 years.
Yeah. There we go. Try and win a title before I'm 40. That can be the aim.
Speaking of titles, what's the situation in Elite? Can you show on the screen, Flo?
You want to see the Elite race screen? Let me check.
Yeah, you can go straight to the end. We're not gonna watch the race now.
I don't know if it's loading.
You have to watch it at 20 times pace.
Maybe it's easier to just go on type Elite. It had already changed and I ruined it. Then. Here it is, the final.
So Agas won.
Rimantas.
Brad Michelini race for sure.
Congratulations, Agas.
So
can you put there you go.
Oh, Bloody got points.
And I finished 27th?
27th, yeah.
Ahead of just the Pips and the Avons, basically. And there's 2 Contis there, technically. And the championship standings, how do they look now? Oh, it's difficult to read. 44-36, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, where's Bert? Bert didn't score?
Bert didn't
he
score
finished
at all.
10th.
That noob. He didn't score at all.
So Christian
We
is
have
taking the lead, huh?
they overtook you in the standings, Jasper.
Well, a lot more people are going to overtake me in the standings.
Yeah.
But Bloody Boy got 3 points that are very, very good.
Yeah. Flo, how do you feel about the tire changes that were made this season? Yeah, sorry, Flo, did you hear me?
Oh yeah, I was distracted trying to see if I could tune the Master 2, but here it is. To see also the race ending in other groups. Hash won. Shitty. You were talking about the tires.
Yeah, how did you feel about the changes that were made this year? Or this season, sorry.
This season, you mean the changes that are made season to season?
Yes.
The price is going up and down.
Well, more the change to Michelini now that obviously you're looking at a 4-way title race this season with 2 people on Bridge Rocks and 2 people on Michelini. So that's, to me, that makes it a lot more exciting. I don't know about you.
I don't think that. I think they should have changed the Hancocks perhaps instead of the Michins.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree to an extent. I think it's too easy to promote to retain on Elite and Hancocks. Like, I do think they should be either made worse or more expensive, but I do like the idea that if you're going for the title, then you have 2 choices, which is essentially what I think Vlad did. So I was quite happy with that personally.
I would have preferred to see a change in Hancocks and break this situation where everyone in Elite is permanently on Hancocks.
I couldn't believe when I saw that the price was dropped to 5 million for Hancocks. It was a really stupid change, and I am absolutely amazed
Hello,
that it has
Vlad.
still not changed.
Yeah, you better be careful.
Every season, I'm clicking that button, expecting that the price has gone up by 3, 4, 500k, but it just doesn't happen, and it's been like that for like 8, 9, 10 seasons. I don't know how many seasons already, and it's absolutely broken. So I hope that Vlad listens because this is stupid. Rant over.
Yeah, you're getting a random next race now.
You can make a short video out of this and post it and send it to Vlad.
Send it to Vlad.
Who we hope is enjoying his holidays.
I wouldn't want to ruin his holidays with this. Then I'm definitely getting a random.
No, yeah, random for Jasper next race. I already had mine last, so
they are just too cheap, especially if you compare with Contis, which are massively overpriced and bad years to some extent as well.
I agree.
So, yeah, it's not a healthy situation.
Yeah, Contis are really overpriced. I agree with that.
Contis have a use, right? They
look who's here, Mark. Look who's here.
Oh dear. I haven't talked to Paolo in a long time.
Me neither.
But, hopefully you're getting on well. Hopefully you're getting on well, Paolo. Send me a message. We'll catch up.
So, do you miss your old Elit1st teammates?
No. No, I'm joking. There is. I'm joking. There was a lot of good guys in there. It was definitely a very interesting and exciting time to be in the team with all those guys. It was a bit of a crazy team. I don't miss it. I'll be honest with you, I don't. But it was a bit crazy.
Oh well, because Paulo and you shared times back in Elit1st.
Yes, we did. Jasper knows some of the things that happened then. we kind of discussed it a little bit fairly recently. So yeah, the Malate guys know how some of that went down.
Why are you keeping the juicy details to yourself?
He's not keeping them to
they're
himself,
not
he's
my
keeping
story
them
to
to
tell.
himself and his teammate.
Yes, it's not my story to tell.
Oh, we did great things together. I see that I got a hug too. I was starting to get jealous.
Now I'm left out, but we didn't do great things together, so I understand.
No, you weren't here, Jasper. Sorry.
With some points in a weak group. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's what Ricardo calls the bike mode. You know, getting some points with Contis and basically neglecting all the rest of your pack because they are indeed expensive.
Well, they're a
Before the
specialist
change.
tire, right? They're a specialist tire to be used in specialist situations. That's the best way you can describe Contes. It's just I think that you've got to price them the same as Yokos and Dunos, right? That's their quality base. I think that they should be priced at that level rather than where they are.
No, I don't agree. I think because you have it easier to secure retention with them, I think it's logical that they are more expensive than Yokos and Contis. But it used to be 2.4 million before the change, and I would agree that this was probably a bit too cheap. But 3 million is way too much to the other side. So I think going to the middle of that, like 2.7, would probably make sense. Which is the Dano price, isn't it? How much do Danos cost?
Danos 2.5. I don't remember.
Yeah, and then if you do that, then you bring your badgers down to about 3 million as well, which will maybe 3.1, 3.2, which kind of gives them more purpose too.
Yeah.
So will we get the Cypriot memoirs out of you at some point, Mark?
Hey, you don't need to wait until the end of the game. You just need to ask me now. I'll tell you whatever. It's fine. I don't mind.
But you need to write it.
Oh no, I'm not writing it. Somebody else can do that. Cool. Unless anybody has any other questions, then I'm going to head off.
Yeah, he needs to go back to work. He's supposed to be working at this moment.
Yeah,
it's really early at Canada.
I've been working here as we've been doing this. I'm doing some Excel spreadsheet work, so it's fairly easy stuff. But
I hope it was for the team.
No. I've got to do my work stuff. I've got to take my. I've got to get all my job estimates done. So yeah, I'm just doing some financial work. That's all.
Okay, granted.
Very well, guys. Yep, catch you up next time.
Okay, Mark, was a pleasure.
Yep,
thank you for joining, and goodbye.
Catch you some other day. What are you leaving too?
No, I don't know. I have time.
Or do you want to stay with me?
Yeah, of course, I will stay online.
I know, yeah, I am adorable.
Didn't say that.
I know I am adorable. I know it. Let's see. I finished in the points today. I'm very happy. I didn't expect points. I was cheap with my upgrades. I didn't particularly have a car for the track, and I was doing something like 40 clear track, nothing special. So a fourth is a good result for me. Your race, I don't need to ask how it went because I know.
What, my race?
Yeah, we know you finished 27th, but I'm happy about my race currently.
Yeah, I'm just catching up with our team Discord. People are wondering my race setup. Anyway, Yeah, so I forgot to set my race setup. So I did everything like qualifying, testing, driver training, everything was fine. Just the strategy wasn't set up, so I was still using the same strategy from last race.
But did you run out of time, or you actually forgot to?
I forgot. I was actually chatting with you in preparation for this stream,
Oh
and then I
yeah,
was I
blame
was
me.
catching up. Yeah, of course. And then I was catching up with the team Discord a bit, and I just completely forgot that I still had to do it. And then I
Blame
looked at
Flo. Yeah.
yeah, always blame other people. That's my MO.
Of course.
Uh,
Raymond is
yeah.
asking what's my group? Pro 11. That's where I am.
And what's your objective for this season? Are you on a pro push or just retention? Or what's
Well, the story to this is that I was trying to build a driver. This started, I don't know, 5 seasons ago or so, and I realized like 1 or 2 seasons ago that it wasn't working. So I'm keeping it until the contract runs out and let it go.
okay?
I'm not going to be able to move up with it. This was supposed to be the promotion season, but it was very obvious like a season ago that I didn't have the pace. I'm actually exactly 1 season behind. This is the pace I should have had a season ago.
And how come?
Because I was stupid and I picked a driver with too much talent. I didn't give it enough concentration. Of course, it's lacking on experience too, so it just doesn't have the pace. Shinobi did basically, yeah, I did. Hello, Bert.
Raymond is asking if we remember why Mark returned to the game. I think he did
What?
say. My audio got out again, right? Can you hear now?
I'm sorry, but the audio is not good.
And it's better now? No.
Not quite. You have been having some problems because of your faulty internet connection today.
No, but I can hear you all the time, so it's
Yeah, I
strange.
know it's your end.
Mm.
I don't want to give
Yeah,
names,
but
but it's you.
it's only one direction that doesn't work properly, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, Raymond was asking if Mark said why he returned to the game. Did he tell us why? I think he just basically grew up a bit and settled down. I think that's basically it.
Yeah,
He spent a
he
few
kind
years
of
doing this and that.
he moved to a different country, got a wife, and life happened basically, and he stopped being a 20-something brat and became a 30-something brat. No, he probably, well, I think that the approach he took in the last years, he somehow realized it wasn't working, no, because he was not being patient enough and building enough to get where he wanted to go.
Wife don't allow him to play the game.
I think that he is not a closeted gamer. We have had a few cases of guys who didn't talk about the game with their wives, and so I think
I think Mark might actually be one of those, but I'm not sure.
you're not sure. Oh well, you need to get that information for the next streaming, Jasper. We need to know.
I
I
think he
know
said this, but it's not a game.
Alexei Malkin, for example, has a is a closeted chip rover. It's not that his wife doesn't know he does things in the internet or he plays, but she doesn't know exactly what it is. But we have a few closeted guys that don't talk about the game to their families. Not in my case. In my case, my husband introduced me to the game, so it was never a secret.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't met that woman yet that I can that I can start dating and start talking about G Pro, and she will say, "Okay, I'll also play."
No, it
Nope.
was instant. He mentioned, "Oh, I'm going to watch the race." What race? I asked, and that's how it started. I got interested from the get go. I actually joined the site and signed up before I actually met my husband. We were talking on the internet, and we hadn't met in real life yet. So first G Pro, and then the husband.
So you're
Priorities.
actually
I got my priorities straight right from the beginning.
You might be the only G Pro couple in history.
No,
No?
what? We are not going to discuss double accounts here.
Oh,
But the Reskoskis are a well-known G Pro couple, and there are people that don't believe there were actually two people playing. Some others do, but
but I mean, they were a couple. They were already a couple before starting G Pro, I guess.
Yeah, of course, the Signe and Eric here.
With you, it's like you became a couple almost because of G Pro. That's my point. So that's the
We were already chatting for some.
You hadn't even met.
Weeks.
You can't say that you were already a couple. So that's my point. So Flo, you need to make that G Pro baby. That would be amazing.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
No pressure.
Oh, exactly, no pressure, but go do a baby. Go make a baby. Come on, Jasper. What is Vlad saying here?
Hey, Vlad is here.
Vlad is here. I pictured him at the beach. Well, it might be a little bit too late for the beach at this time, so makes sense he's not there. The pit wall. 3.5. Yeah. Well, you know that first of all, there was a very strange bug during the development of the G Pro app, and I kind of gained some hours online that are not actually real. The app wasn't registering the hours online right. That was a bug, and Vlad fixed it. As a matter of fact, if you go check Vlad time online, it was also affected by the app development bug. So no, you should take a good, I don't know, 10 or 20% out of the time offline I have, because it was a bug. And but yet the rest, well, it's probably related to the fact that we had manual approval of accounts in the early ages, and I was online quite a bit because of that, checking on the waiting list. So the Reskoskis, you met them, Vlad. That's what you're saying. I didn't know that was the case. Well, if Vlad is online, he probably listened to your gameplay, Jasper.
I'm kind of hoping that he only joined after the race. But maybe my complaints were after the race. I don't know.
You can still make the short video and send it Bloodways. Oh, he says here it is. He played another game with them. So all the people with dirty minds, there you are.
They came from the game called Pitwall. Now I get the comment.
Oh, but I didn't identify the name of the game. That's why I was confused. I wasn't sure what he was talking about.
Uh-huh.
That's nice to know. Well, lots of people came from other games. They are that met in other games and moved to Shipro. There was quite the community back then.
Hmm.
So to reply to Ilian, those hours, I was not all that many hours online, and neither Vlad was 1.2 million hours online. No, that didn't happen.
Vlad has double accounts. That's confirmed by. And he counted all the hours of his double account.
He wanted to see himself at the top of some of the statistics.
Uh-huh.
He just needed that, so he did this. Well, guys, I think that we are going to end the streaming here.
Yeah.
I'm out of ideas of what to ramble about, so we are ending the streaming here.
All right, let's do that. I can measure the damage of my my messed up race. So
see
thank
you,
you, Flo,
everyone.
for hosting. It was fun. And thanks
Thank you,
everyone for watching.
for co-hosting too. I needed
My
some
pleasure.
backup today. I was honestly concerned about Mark accents, but in the end, it wasn't a big problem. So but it was good to have two people to listen to the same to see if someone could understand. Anyway, see you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.